Hi friends, it's Lauren Taylor and thank you so much for joining me in my craft room today and happy Halloween! I'm so excited to be sharing a project today with Whimsy Stamps. It's our last project together on the Halloween team and I'm using a stamp set die and a This Calls for Confetti Spooky Sparkles Confetti Mix. They are a sponsor for our Instagram hop, so I'm really excited to be making a shaker card today with Whimsy and This Calls for Confetti. I will have all the information you can find to hop over to my Instagram so you can learn about the Whimsy Stamps hop that's going on today. But let's jump into how I created this card. So I've trimmed down a piece of watercolor cardstock and I'm going to be doing some ink blending. I did trim my cardstock to be 4.5 by 5 3/4 so that way I can die cut it with an A2 panel die cut with ease. I used the confetti mix to pick some distress oxides that I thought matched pretty well with the colors of the confetti mix. I'm doing spun sugar, dried marigold, salvaged patina, and shaded lilac. I'm going to start with orange in the bottom right hand corner and I'm just using some brushes that I like to use for Distress Oxide, and I'm going to lay down color from the corner all the way to the other top left corner, and every time I lay down color I do go back to the previous and try to blend those two colors together so that way there is more of a seamless blend between the colors. I will say between shaded lilac and spun sugar, I did have to really work that line, but the other colors I think blended very nicely. Here you can see how I'm blending shaded lilac in with salvage patina. Once I was happy with the background, I went ahead and cleaned off my silicone mat and I'm going to now die cut my background. This is the Twinkle Swirl die from Whimsy Stamps and I think it is so cool for a shaker panel, but I'm going to love it for so many other things. You can make a fun night sky with this, something magical. It just looks so cool and I love the 4 pointed stars in the design. I will save these little pieces that die cut from the, I guess you could say, negative space of this die. You never know, I might use them on a future project. After I was done getting all those little tiny sparkly stars out of my die, I'm going to go ahead and set it aside and I will move on to creating my shaker panel after I go ahead and put all of these little pieces in the recycle bin. I'm going to cut a piece of acetate to be A2 in size as well. Now I will say it's slightly smaller than A2. When I trim my acetate, I don't like it to be the exact same size as my panel. I want to make it a little bit smaller if I have enough room on the border of my panel of my shaker card. So that way when I line up the edges of the acetate with the panel, I don't have to worry about them lining up exactly or it'll be off center and I'll have to trim it. This just gives me a little bit of wiggle room when I add my acetate. I'm taking some double-sided adhesive tape and I applied it to all 4 sides of my panel here, and I also added a little bit on some of the swirls where there was some room that I could add that 1/8 of an inch double-sided adhesive so my acetate would stick to the back of this panel die cut and really be secured in place. Next, I'm going to grab foam adhesive. This is from Heffy Doodle and it is the smaller size of their thick foam adhesive. I'm almost done using up this roll. I do say that I like to use Pear Blossom Press's World's Best Foam Tape more, but I'm trying to use what I have. So for cards where I know this smaller foam adhesive will fit, I'm going to use it on my shaker cards. So after I get all 4 sides of my panel, I'm going to go ahead and put it inside of my small Misty. I took out the foam or kind of mouse pad-esque kind of layer and the magnet, and I'm just going to use it to help guide adding my card base to the back side of this panel. Now I went ahead and filled up my panel here with a lot of my Spooky Sparkles confetti mix, again from This Calls for Confetti, and I adhered my card panel directly to the back because I was going for a pastel look and I just wanted those black bats to really pop off on the background. But when I close up my panel here and I look at my card, I'm not really thrilled with the white background. I felt like it just looked kind of sad and empty. Like maybe I should have used a light gray or something with a little more color in the background. And I'm going to end up ripping this off later and changing the back of my panel to be black cardstock, but I'll talk about that more when I get there. So now I'm thinking that I'm going to just move on to stamping because my shaker card is done and now it's just time for decorating. And I'm going to grab the hands, the zombie hands from the Zombie-Licious clear stamp set from Whimsy Stamps. I love this little heart that it's making, and I'm going to stamp it with some alcohol marker friendly black ink. This particular one is Ink on 3 Blackout. It's a great ink for, alcohol ink coloring, watercoloring, lots of different mediums. But again, I'm going to be using alcohol markers. So I'm going to grab my Ohuhu art markers and I'm just going to start looking at my coloring guide and figuring out what colors I wanted to do. I'm trying my best to match the colors that I use for ink blending and the confetti mix. So I'm just going to quickly go through my coloring while I talk about the Instagram hop. So this is our third and final Instagram hop, and again we are all featuring Whimsy Stamps products for Halloween. You can see lots of different styles. There's definitely the more cutesy and fun like the one I'm creating today. I've got zombie hands and pastel colors. There's definitely some spooky styles out there, so no matter what, I think you're going to find something that you like with our Halloween hops. And one randomly chosen commenter over on Instagram is going to win a $100 gift certificate to This Calls for Confetti, which is amazing. And a second randomly chosen commenter winner will win a $100 gift certificate to the Whimsy Stamps shop as well. That is pretty amazing. The prizes are in US dollars and it's really easy to enter to win. You just like everybody's Instagram posts and you follow, Whimsy Stamps, This Calls for Confetti, and all the different Halloween hop designers, and you just leave a comment. Pretty easy peasy for a chance to win some big shopping money. So I hope you'll use the link down below to head over to my Instagram page and you can easily find this project. I have a little not symbol, but this picture of my card along with an information graphic on the Whimsy Stamps hop. So I hope you'll, hop along and just have some fun for my last project on the Whimsy Stamps Halloween team. Once I'm all done coloring, I'm going to grab my scissors that I like to use for fussy cutting, and I'm going to cut around these images. I'll also cut the white space out from the center, and to do that I just take a hole punch and punch a few holes in the center so that way I can get in and start cutting, and then I just follow around the edge just like I do on the outside with my scissors so I can, have an opening on the inside of my hands as well, as I didn't want to cover any of my beautiful ink blended background. I just love those pastel colors together, so I just wanted everything that I could show to be seen. So now I'm going to be using some of the sentiment stamps to create my own sentiment from the same stamp set. I'm stamping Forever, I'm stamping You from the You Are, and then Love. So my sentiment says Love You Forever. And I'm grabbing one of my quick strips, again from Whimsy Stamps, to die cut my sentiment out so I can add it to the front of my card. Now I was kind of going back and forth on using white with black ink. I was thinking maybe I should have done black and emboss it in white because I just felt like there was something missing from my card. So before I get much further, like I said earlier, I'm going to peel off my shaker panel. I just didn't like it. Something about it just felt off. I wanted something, a little bit more bold with the pastel. So again, ripping off my card base. I will save, half the card base for, a future project. I'm not going to waste all of this cardstock since the back panel of the card base is still fine. But I will rip off all this paper, and I know that that means my foam adhesive isn't going to be, adhesive anymore. So I'm going to show you what I do to fix that. So I cut another card base and I scored it in half, and then I cut a piece of black cardstock in A2 size and I glued that to the front part of my card panel. And I'm just going to repeat my process earlier of putting the front of my shaker inside of my Misty so it's snug up in one of the corners. I'm going to add some liquid adhesive to the foam to make sure that there's a good adhesion of this foam adhesive again. And then I also added some double-sided adhesive tape to the black cardstock on my card panel. And then just tucking it into that corner of my Misty, just like I did earlier, to glue my shaker panel back onto my card base. And I really like how this looks more. I think I liked the white with the pastel, but it just felt like it was missing something. And my sentiment in white, I needed the black boldness in the background. And I'm really happy that I went this way. So now I can start gluing on the fun bits to the front of the card. And I felt like my hands were a little bit lost in the background. So one thing I like to do when I feel like I have busy on top of busy is to add a vellum piece in between, because I didn't want to hide any of my background, but I needed my zombie hands to stand out a little more. So I used the largest die from the Nested Webs die set, again from Whimsy Stamps, and I die cut it out of vellum. And this will be nice to kind of just add a little bit in between, again, my busier ink blended background and my busy colored in zombie hands. And I did cover mostly the pink and the purple, which you will see, at the end of the swirl. So I didn't feel like I was losing any color. So I laid down my vellum to the center of my card and I added liquid adhesive to my hands and glued it onto the vellum. And that just helped with placement and making sure I know exactly where I want my vellum and my image and my sentiment to go. And then I glued on my sentiment. Now, with vellum, if you add adhesive to the back side, you will see it from the front. So that's why I like adding my elements to the front of my vellum before I glue the vellum piece to my card base. So now that I have an idea of where I can hide my glue, add glue, and I'm adding this now to the front of my card, making sure it's as centered and straight as I can get it. And that will finish off my shaker card. I hope that you enjoyed this process and that you are inspired to make some fun colored cards. I know this is a Halloween hop, so there is some Halloween, goodies in here. And I love to make Halloween cards on at least the last day of the month, if not more often. But I think this card could easily be used for, a loved one in your life. And a fun fact, this confetti mix also glows in the dark. You can see my moons look a little bit more green in this last photo because I tried to activate that glow in the dark look of the confetti. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!